Halo semuanya, berjumpa lagi dalam Dimas Esti Random. Oke, kali ini aku akan lanjutkan kembali chapter kelima ya. Sebelumnya sempat sedikit sempat juga, karena sebelumnya memang sekali lagi aku bilang emang agak sedikit kendala di sinyalnya. Jadi aku mohon maaf kalau mungkin misalnya aku harus take berulang-ulang, karena aku harus bukan karena apa ya, tapi karena sejak awal HP kamera aku emang agak trouble. Jadi aku langsung saja ya. Kita mulai di chapter kelima. Selina brushed the stray wisps of hair from her face and allowed herself to be led into the clearing. If she wanted to break free, she'd been go through chaos first. Had then been alone, she might attempt it, though the change would make it difficult. But with an underage to oil cars trained to kill without hesitation. Cal remained close beside her while a fire was kindled and food prepared to boxes and sacks of supplies. The soldiers lowered logs to make small circles where they sat while their companions stared and fried. The Crown Prince's dogs, who had dutifully trotted alongside their masters, approached the assassin with wagging tails and lay at her feet, and if someone was glad for her company. Hungry by the time a plate was finally laid in her lap, Selina became a bit more than irritated when the captain did not immediately remove her irons. After giving her a long warning look, he unlocked her chains and slammed them onto her ankles. She only rolled her eyes and she raised a small portion of meat of her lips. She chewed slowly. The last thing she needed was to stick in front of them. While the soldiers talked among themselves, Selina took in their surroundings. She and Carol sat with 5 soldiers. The Crown Prince, of course, sat with Paddington and their own 2 logs, far from her. While Dorian's had been all arrogance and amusement the previous night, his features were grave as bespoke of the Duduk. His entire body seemed tense, and she didn't fail to notice the way he clenched his jaw when Paddington spoke. Whatever their relationship was, it was cordial. Mid-bite, Selina turned her focus from the prince to the study to trees. The forest had gone silent. The ebony house ears were erect, though didn't seem to be bothered by stillness. Even the soldiers quieted. Her heart skipped a beat. The forest was different here. The leaves dangled like jewels. Tiny droplets of ruby, pearl, topaz, amethyst, emerald, and garnet. And a carpet of such riches coated the forest floor around them. Despite the ravages of conquest, this part of Oak World Forest remained untouched. It still echoed with the remnants of the power had once again given these trees such unnatural beauty. Sleeping only 8 with Arobin Hamel, her mentor and the king of the assassins, found her half submerged on the banks of frozen rice. And Walker took his skip on the border between Ireland and Jerusalem. By training her to be his finest and most loyal assassin, Arobin had never allowed her to return home to Jerusalem, but still remembered the beauty of the world before the king of Ireland had ordered so much of it burned. Now there was nothing left for her there, nor would there ever be. Arobin had never said it aloud, but if he refused this offer to train her, he would be handed her to those who would have killed her, or worse. She'd been newly orphaned, and even at 8, she knew that a life with Arobin with a new name that no one would recognize, but someday, everyone would fear, was chance to start over, to escape the fate that led her to leap into the icy river that night 10 years ago. "Damn, Forrest," said an olive-skinned soldier in their circle. A soldier beside him chuckled. "The sooner it burned, the better, I say." The other soldier nodded, and Selina stiffened. "It's full of hate," said another. "Did you expect anything else?" she interrupted. Chaos handed dart of to his sword as the soldier turned to her, some of them sneering. "This isn't just any forest," she beckoned with her foe to the woods. "It's Brennan's forest. My father used to tell me stories about being full of fairies." Our soldier said, "They're all gone now." One took a bite from the apple and said, "Along with those damn branches, Faye." Another said, "We got rid of them, didn't we?" "I watched your tongue," Selina snapped. King Brennan was Faye, and awkward it still is. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the trees remember him. The soldiers laughed. "They have the 2 years old damn trees," said. "Fae are immortal," she said. Trees ain't." Bristling, Selina shook her head and took another small forkful of wood. "What do you know about this forest?" Kyo quietly asked her. Was he mocking her? The soldiers had sat forward, poised to laugh, but Captain's golden brown eyes held more curiosity. She swallowed her meat. Before Adeline began its conquest, this forest was cloaked in magic. She said softly, but not meekly. She, he waited for her to continue, but she had said enough. "And?" he prodded. "And that's all I know," she said, meeting his gaze, disappointed in the lack of anything to mock. The soldiers returned to their meals. She had lied, and Keol knew it. She knew plenty about this forest, knew that the nicest of this place had once been fairies, gnomes, spirits, names, goblins, more names than anyone could can't remember, all ruled by their larger, human-like cousins, the immortal Fae, the original inhabitants and settlers of the continent, and the oldest beings in Adelia. With the growing corruption of Adelaide and the king's campaign to harm them and execute them, the fairies and fae fled, seeking shelters in the wild, untouched place of the world. The king of Adelaide had outlawed in all magic fairies, and removed any trace so thoroughly that even those who had magic in their blood almost believed it had never really existed. Selina herself being one of them. The king had claimed that magic was unfurled off to the goddess and her gods, that to willing it was impertinently imitate their power. But even though the king had banned magic, most knew the truth. With the month of his proclamation, magic was completely and utterly dispelled of his own accord. Perhaps it had realized that horrors were coming. She could still smell the fire had reached through the air 8 and 9 years. The smoke of burning books, chock full of ancient, irreversible knowledge, the scream of keeps seers and healers as they been consumed by flames, the stone thrones and sacred places that shattered and discouraged and erased from history. Many of Meiji users who had been burned wound up prisoner in Endovier, and most didn't survive long there. It had been a while since we completed the gifts she'd lost, though the memory of her abilities haunt her dreams. Despite the carnage, perhaps it was good that magic has been vanished. It was far too dangerous for any sane person to wield. Her gifts might have destroyed her by this point. The smoking fire burned her eyes as she took another bite. She never forget the stories about Oakwall Forest. Legend of darts, terrible glens and tips, still pools and caves full of light and heavenly singing. But they were not only stories and nothing more. To speak of them was to invite trouble. She looked at the sunlight flaring through the canopy, how the trees swayed in the wind with their long, bony arms around each other. She suppressed a shiver. Lunch, thankfully, was over quickly. Her chains was transferred to her wrists again, and horses was refreshed and reloaded. Selina's legs became so stiff that Keol was forced to help her onto her horse. It was painful to ride, and her nose so suffered a blow as the continual stench of her sweat and excrement floated to the back of the entourage. They traveled for the remainder of the day, but the assassin sat in silence as she watched The forest passed, and darkness in her chest not easing until they left that shimmering glen far behind. Her body ached by the time they stopped for the night. She didn't bother to speak at dinner, nor to care when her smile that was erected. Guards posted outside and she was allowed to sleep, she still shackled to one of them. She didn't dream, but when she woke, she couldn't believe her eyes. Small white flowers lay at the foot of her coat, and many infant-sized footprints led in and out of the tent. Before someone could enter and notice, Selina swept a foot over the tracks, destroying any trace, and stuffed the flowers into the nearby settle. Though no one mentioned another word about fairies. As they traveled onward, Selina continued to scan the soldier's face for any indication that they had seen something strange. She spent a good portion of the following day with sweaty palms and raising her feet, and kept one eye fixed on the passing woods. Oke, saja dari aku ya. Sorry, banyak emosi ya. Itu saja dari aku ya. Jangan lupa subscribe dan komentar Anda tentang kalian. Aku kabar dari sini untuk membacakan kisah satunya ya. See you around and bye bye.